Wow. What a wonderful day it has already been. It is already being, and what a wonderful service. Julia's prayer. Christian, help me pray this. That's going to be my new intro to prayer, man. And thank you. And 2 Kings 6, 8 through 17. Y'all, this is a good story. Once, when the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he took counsel with his officers. He said, "At such and such a place shall be my camp." But the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, "Take care not to pass this place, for the Arameans are going down there." The king of Israel sent word to the place of which the man of God spoke. More than once or twice, he warned a place so that it was on the alert. The mind of the king of Aram was greatly perturbed because of this. He called his officers and said to them, "Now tell me, who among us is betraying us to the king of Israel?" Then one of his officers said, "No one, my lord king. It is Elisha, the prophet of Israel, who tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedchamber." He said, "Go and find where he is. I will send and seize him." He was told, "He is in Dothan." So he sent horses and chariots there and a great army. They came by night and surrounded the city. When an attendant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. His servant said, "Alas, master, what shall we do?" He replied, "Do not be afraid, for there are more with us than there are with them." Then Elisha prayed, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the servant, and he saw. The mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Thanks be to God.
Good morning, Metro. It is so nice to be here, and y'all look really good in your purple. And if you didn't get the memo, it's fine. It's not a secret club or anything. It's just, I didn't think to even ask Tiffany and Jana to send the notice out until last night, I think, like maybe Friday night or something. So, but consider this the beginning of your opportunity to put on some purple. And for those who don't know, purple is the color, and this has been traditioned to me by folks who have been in the movement much longer, because it's the color of a bruise. And so purple becomes the color of this. But let us pray. Lord, help. Lord, help. And I heard the comment about this political moment. So I don't canvass. I don't feel comfortable canvassing. If I'm going to canvass, like door-to-door canvassing, it's going to have to be with like 15 people, because I am not in this body going to go out into the neighborhood and knock on anyone's door. So I do texting. So if you ever get a text from someone saying, "Hey, donate," that was probably me hitting this space bar, just sending out a random text. But I also have been doing yard signs, which y'all don't do down here because y'all don't have yards. So I've got vote yes for Prop 1 yard signs in my car. Yeah, but I've like doing yard signs can also be pretty dangerous, because I put the signs out, I drive by, and they're gone. Yeah, and some people just like take the sign off and leave the metal stand. So I started stapling the signs to the stand, but it's tense out there in those streets. So whatever you do, be safe, be kind. I know you will, but yeah, let's do what needs to be done. So yeah, so today is October 27th. It's the last Sunday in October, the last Sunday of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And yes, this is the work that I've been doing for close to 15 years. I inherited this work from my mother, who was doing this work at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility on behalf of women who survived the violence but reacted with violence as well. My mother was one of the first directors of the Family Violence Program at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility. So I get this work honestly. I also get this work because in my own family, we are survivors. Statistics tell us 1 in 3 women, 1 in 5 men. And in my family, my girl cousins, we are legion. There are so many of us who have experienced this, and some of us choose to do this work to stop the violence. And having said that, trust me when I tell you, I'm okay. I know when I disclose some of my lived experiences, people come up and they say, oh my gosh, Kym, I'm good. I'm good. I'm really good. I have a network of support that is surrounding me. I have my own chariots of fire. So now there are plenty of scriptures that people use for a day like today, and they'll talk about David and Bathsheba, they'll talk about Tamar and Amnon, they'll talk about Dinah, they might mention Ephesians where it says, wives, be submissive to your husbands, but they never talk about the other part of that. I'm not actually going to talk about those because so many of those end in violence. The story of David and Bathsheba ends in violence. The story of Tamar and Amnon ends in violence. The story of Dinah is a violent story. And even though Ephesians 5 doesn't have any characters, the way it gets interpreted in our society today causes people to pick up the phone and call a hotline because of the misinterpretation. So, and you know, because I've been here often enough, I may take you down, but I also want to bring you up and bring up a little hope. In my work, when I'm out teaching and working with people, I often ask people after I lay out the whole issue, I'll ask people, so what do people ask survivors? What do they say to or about survivors when they find out that their life has been, that their lived experience is an experience of disempowerment? And the question is usually this, that people ask, why didn't you leave? Why are you still there? That is the most embarrassing, re-victimizing, re-traumatizing, debilitating question we can ever ask. And I know people ask because they don't know what else to say. They're stumped and they stumble. What can we say? Where is the good news on a Domestic Violence Awareness Sunday, on this beautiful, crispy fall Sunday? What can we say when the survivor feels like the servant who asked Elisha, what shall I do? 3 of the most important words that anyone can say to anybody are not, I love you, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Because I know I love you can be very important. We want to tell people, I love you so much. It makes people feel good to hear, I love you. However, we also know that for survivors, I love you can be very manipulative. The person who's causing the violence will often say, I'm sorry, you know I love you. I didn't mean it. I was stressed. The boss is getting on my nerves. The kids are driving me crazy. Couldn't find a parking spot on my way to church. 3 important words I want you to remember. I believe you. I believe you. I believe you can be a phrase that could turn a survivor's life around. And this is why in all of the characters in this story, I'm going to talk about them in a minute, the most important characters in this story is actually the chariots. It's not the people, it's the chariots. Stay with me here. We get the king of Aram. We don't even know the king's name. Tells you how important that person is. We know throughout the Bible, people who aren't named aren't really given that much importance. We see it all over the New Testament in a way that women are not named. King of Aram. He's the leader of the Arameans. And the nation of Israel has been at war, at battle, right? Kings is actually, the chapters, the books are called Kings and Chronicles, but what they're chronicling is really the battles that some of these kings are engaged in representing the nation of Israel. And then we also get the prophets. We're going to get to the prophet in a second. We get the king of Israel, not named. Just says the king of Israel, king of Aram, king of Israel. But then we get Elisha. Elisha is known as a minor prophet, but I often thought it was so funny that someone like Elisha could be considered a minor prophet. When you read Kings, 1st and 2nd Kings, he's doing so much. He gets chosen to be Elijah's successor. He has a major role today. He has a major role in helping us understand our role as people who are representing the Lord in a world that is violent and death-dealing. I'm going to say that again. Elisha has a major role in helping us, especially those of us who have donned our purple. And just aside, I was telling Tiffany, I don't actually have any purple church clothes. So after I emailed them, I was like, well, Kym, what are you going to wear? So I put my earrings on because all of my purple is activist t-shirts and workout gear, but I don't have any purple I could wear in the pulpit, even at Metro, and I know Metro's pretty casual. Elisha wants us to understand our role. We represent the Lord in a world that is violent and death-dealing. Elisha is standing in the middle of violence, in battles. He also has a major role in teaching us how to bring some good news to survivors who may not see, feel, experience, expect any good news. But again, this is really about the chariots. So how do survivors feel? How do you think the people in that city felt, knowing they were at battle, hearing the chariots and the horses surround the city in the midst of battle? They probably felt a little isolated, felt a little alone, felt a little threatened. They were under constant attack. They probably felt like those chariots represented insurmountable challenges. So it is with the people who come to my agency and who maybe are part of the ministry here, the DV ministry here, feeling alone and isolated and silenced and threatened in the majority of their relationship. One thing survivors want, people think survivors want to leave. Some of them do, but you know what they really want? They want the violence to stop. That's it. They just want the violence to stop. They want some hope about that relationship that they're in. Every moment with that person is another moment of disempowerment, the destruction of their sense of self, their diminishing confidence, the removal of autonomy over their lives. Sounds like they're in a bit of a battle every single day of their lives. The king of Aram, I don't want to give him too much air, but there's something about this king who gets upset because his plans get thwarted time after time after time. God keeps intervening, telling Elisha, tell the king of Israel, this is the plan. And Aram gets more upset and more upset and more upset because he feels like he's in control, but he's losing control. Every time he thinks he can strike, he gets thwarted. That sounds very familiar to the work that I do. Interesting. So the attendant of the man of God rises early in the morning, goes out, and there's an army of horses and chariots all around the city. And the servant says, alas, master, what shall we do? It's an out loud question that people who are surviving violence will sometimes whisper into their pillow at night before they nod off to sleep, or on a walk, or when they're sitting at their desk, or they're in their car, or they're on their bus, they're trying to function through the violence, and they're thinking, what shall I do? What can I do here as I'm being disempowered? What can I do? What shall we do? What can I do with my family? How are we going to escape this impending doom? Where can we go? And who can I turn to? And then moreover, who's going to believe me? because their partner is a surgeon, police officer, priest, rabbi, imam, pastor, preacher, coach, teacher, mayor, store owner, firefighter, just someone nice in the neighborhood that everyone likes because they're so helpful. Who's going to believe me? We just got back from vacation. We live in a nice house. The kids look good. They're well dressed. They're clean. I drive a nice car. Our dog never barks at anyone. Who's going to believe me? I go to that big church over there where everyone's always smiling and we're singing and we're doing great work. Who's going to believe me? And I've never said anything before about what's happening, so who's going to believe me? And even for students, for young people. My parents told me not to, and I did, so now I can't go back and tell them. And besides, the other student is really popular. They play sports, they're a great musician, they were just in a play. Who's going to believe me? Oh, who's going to believe them? Then Elisha says to his servant, don't be afraid. There are more with us than there are with them. Where are they? Because all I see are these chariots out here, so where are they? Oh Lord, please open his eyes that he may see. So the Lord opened the eyes of the servant, and he saw. The mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Now, you all know me. You know I have a very, very creative, baptized imagination. I imagine that moment when Elisha and the servant walk out and they see all those chariots of the king of Aram. Elisha says a quick prayer, and then the servant's like, on the mountain, up on the mountain. He lifted his eyes up to the hills, asking, where is my help going to come from? And on that mountain, he saw chariots of fire. You may not see it now. You may not know it now. You may not feel it now. Life may have told you you're all alone in this. However, I want you to know that I believe you. I want to be your chariot. I want to be the vision on the mountain that you see that tells you you're not alone, and I believe you. Do you know what I believe you can do to reshape someone's sense of self? Of course I believe you. Why wouldn't I believe you? That's one of the things in our work that we always say, like, we believe a survivor until a survivor gives us a reason not to believe them. And I've rarely ever been in a conversation with anyone who gave me reason not to believe them. Chariots of fire. There are more with you than you realize. So how do we, church folk, how do we do that? Because honestly, the church is responsible for violence. We have a responsibility because we've perpetuated it. Think about how we tell the story of David. David was the apple of God's eye. Really? Sounds like a rotten apple, but that's another sermon. That's another sermon. Today we're about hope, and the hope is that in the way that we signal to survivors that we believe them. It's not just what we say, it's also what we do. It's what we do. How do we hold them? How are we present to people? How do we listen? How do we make sure that that's not all we talk about? I have a very close friend. I'm coming to a close, but I have a very close friend who came to me once and said, Kym, I want to talk to you, but it's not what you think it is, which meant it was exactly what I thought it was. I didn't push it. When she said that, I said, okay, I believe you. I'm fine. I'm cool. And when she finally came around to tell me, I just listened. I was present. Gave her some information, and now she's free. She's free. Yeah, when I say free, I mean the ring is off, the papers are signed, and she is free. And all she needed was someone to say, yeah, I believe you. And she's a church girl just like me. I believe you. I can't help but imagine what it felt for that servant to look out on the mountain But I want that feeling of relief. I want that for every survivor. Just knowing that the powers that are out there that are with them are greater than they can imagine. And if we start here by signaling to survivors, I believe you. I believe you. If we could be their chariot. Amen.